back. It's Chris from the Hagon factory. This week we're going to have a look at the 350 Velocette engine that the old man's falling apart. That's Alan. And we'll have a look at the gearbox he's restored for the 350 Velocette. This video is longer than usual, but it's worth watching just to see the bits and pieces that he finds in the engine. There's some strange stuff going on in there. It's amazing it ran, but it did, but it's going to be a good thing. So let's have a look. Righto, so we're back at Al's workshop, in Dad's workshop, to look at Ian McLeod's engine. Dad's pulled it down, so let's have a look at some of the issues.
Okay, righto. Ian was riding this bike at Broadford at Easter time, and he said that it slowed right up and came to a bit of a halt. Well, there's the reason why it did that. It's shed quite a few teeth off the magneto pinion gear.
Definitely has, yeah.
Yep, it's an old fibre gear, which over the years they become oil soaked and they become quite soft, and that's the result. This has been an automatic advanced timing unit. It's been welded in the open position, and it's on a manual advanced BDH magneto, so that's not an uncommon thing to see. I've seen quite a few of those over the years. That's one thing. Now, the cams. Here we have the cams. Now these cams are normally, they've got a number on them, usually stamped right there. Well, this set of cams hasn't. So whether they're aftermarket ones or something, I wouldn't be too sure, but I haven't actually measured them up or anything yet, but I'll have a look at that later. Now, this is the spindle that the cams run on, and you may be able to see in here it's got some centre pop marks around it. It's become loose.
Yeah, I think we can see those, yep.
It's become loose in the housing. Now, that spindle is supposed to come out flush with the end of the cam. That's about 10 mil, at least 12 mil.
Yeah, so it's worked its way in.
It's worked its way into the crankcase.
Yep.
So that'll have to be addressed.
So hopefully it's worked its way in.
Yeah, we hope it has.
Yep.
Righto, now this spindle here is for the intermediate gear. Now, it's supposed to sit flush with that hole there, and that hole there, and that one there, and it's supposed to sit nice and flush. It's supposed to be even. You're supposed to be able to put a little ruler across. So what does it do with my ruler?
We've got a rule there somewhere.
We did have one. There it is.
Yep.
Righto. I don't know whether you'll be able to see this, but you can see that it's sitting out from there.
We can see it. The camera's jumping around a little bit, but we can see it, yep.
That's, how far is that, Chris? That's about 10 mil, isn't it?
Yeah, it would be, yep. Yeah, it would be, or a little bit more, yep.
Now, there's a bit of a trap with these. This is what happens when you assemble one of these motors out of a big box of spares. These did vary quite a bit, and that's out of a different motor. So somebody in their wisdom has cut the end off that bush. That bush should sit out there, so it's flush with the end of that, just below flush, just so that it's free to turn. So what they've done is they've totally destroyed the cam steady. They've cut a big ugly hole in there, so that sort of fits over there like that, which is not supposed to be anything like that.
Yep.
That goes in there like so.
And everything should be flush. Yep.
Everything should be flush. Now, if it was flush, it'd be all sitting out there. But see, what they've done is they've done this hole in here, which is fairly sort of butcherous, to be honest. That's not a very good job at all. So luckily we've got plenty of these, and we'll probably have enough bits to put that together there as well. Now the next thing was, this is a left-hand nut on a Velo. They're left-hand crankshaft nut. Now I've turned the motor over a little bit. On the end of the crankshaft there, they've got a keyway. Yep. Which is not really used with the key as such. That's for the tongue on a special washer that goes behind this nut. It's a special washer. It's got a little tongue that hangs down in that groove. And because this is a left-hand nut, once you nip that up onto that washer, the washer can't move, so the nut won't move. Okay, so that was loose. That was finger tight. Okay.
And no washer.
And no washer. No washer to be seen anywhere. Right, now, another marvellous piece of engineering here that I was quite intrigued with was the head gasket. It's a solid brass head gasket. Now, you wouldn't compress that in 100 years with anything, like it's not going to seal anything, but somebody's put a lot of time and effort into making that.
I had.
And it obviously leaked because what they've done then is they've put silicone on the head. Now, that's a new innovation. I haven't seen that before.
I would have been better off without it.
Yeah, look, there it is. Look at that. All this. Yep. Now, we'll see we've got the head here. We'll have a look at the head. This head's not too bad. It has had bigger valves fitted. You can see how close it is to the spark plug hole there.
Yeah, we can see that, yep.
That's the nice big inlet valve there. The exhaust valve's pulled back a little bit, but we'll just, when we pop them out, we'll have a look and we'll see how that goes. But we'll have a look at those. Now, this spring carrier, that actually holds a fair bit of oil in there. Yeah, and the rocker box clamps around that to seal it, so that's really been badly pitted and it's been left out in the rain, and that would cause it to leak some oil past there. Yeah, but the rest of the head is pretty good. We'll be able to salvage that. That'll be that.
Good.
And not only that too, it's had a bit of a port job, and you can see the valve down there.
Yeah, we saw that on the last video.
Yeah,
the camera's just jumping around again. Sorry about that, guys.
Okay, no, it's looking pretty impressive, this head. I reckon it'll be a good, mildly modified head, which should make it go quite well once we get all these other problems sorted out.
Fantastic.
Now, the next thing is, I'm not sure what this piston's out of, but it doesn't come right to the top of the cylinder. That's as high as it goes.
Yeah. What sort of piston? Is it?
Well, I'm not sure. It could be a Triumph piston.
Yeah.
It could be out of like a Daytona or something like that. But I'm not sure. I'll have to get out and have a look. But what we'll do in a minute is we'll lift the cylinder off. I haven't done that yet. We'll lift the cylinder off and we'll just have a bit of a look, see what it looks like in there when we lift the cylinder.
Excellent.
I'll just turn this around and we'll lift the cylinder.
So you've only just been working on this today?
Just finished not very long ago.
Yeah, no worries.
Now that's going to come off.
Excellent.
Righto. Except for this piece of metal smashed out of the corner, that cylinder's probably not too bad at all. It's a bit stained and a bit marked inside, but it's probably not too bad. It looks like it's possibly had a sleeve in it.
Yep.
It has had a sleeve in it, I can see it. And it's back pretty much to standard bore, I think. Now this piston. It's die-cut Y alloy. Okay, they were fairly common in the old days, the die-cut Y alloy pistons. I think they were made sort of around the war when material was scarce, and it's not a very good quality alloy. It was known for rapid expansion, but if you bored them accordingly and ran them in, they did do the job. They did keep going. Now we'll have a look down in here. We'll just see what the big end feels like. I think Ian's a pretty lucky boy. The big end's good.
Excellent.
And somebody has had a fair go at polishing up the flywheels. Can you see the clean?
Yeah, we can see the flywheels.
Beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful.
they are nice and clean, yeah.
Beautiful, clean flywheels. The big end feels like it's probably going to be okay, which will be good.
So someone's probably done the crank at some stage.
I'd say so.
Yep.
And the gudgeon bush is fine. That piston has never grabbed. It's never been tight, running tight, which will be a good thing. We might be able to salvage quite a bit there.
Yeah, this engine doesn't run all day though.
No, it'll only be on short sprints.
No, he does a
3 laps or something, 3 or 4 laps.
3 or 4 laps around Broadford.
Yeah,
at a
okay.
time.
Right, so, okay, so we've discovered lots of issues with it, but they're all fixable. Probably the biggest issue we'll have is securing the cam spindle, but that'll be done. There's no problem with that. We'll do that. We'll address that. Okay. So that's about where we're up to with that. It had odd nuts on here, as you knew, and there was a few other bits and pieces wrong with it, a few other problems, but it's only all fairly small stuff. The oil pump, Ian was worried about the oil pump. It doesn't seem to have any end float at all, so it might be okay.
Fantastic.
You might be lucky there too. Yep. But I'm sure I will have one of these here somewhere that's the correct length.
Yep.
The spindle for the intermediate gear. This is this one here. I've seen a few of these around with longer and shorter bushes in them over the time. And I did get caught out once. While I was building up an engine, I put one in and then I just noticed it straight away that it was too long. So I think everything else will be all right.
Excellent.
Righto. Another problem with Ian McLeod's Velo engine is that this is the drive side single-lipped main bearing, which you can assemble like so. Now, that's supposed to be in the drive side, and there was one in the drive side, but they'd also put one in the timing side, and they put it in back to front like that. And now when the crankshaft was moving, all it's trying to do is push this in and out, push this bearing in and out like that, and it's chewed into the back of the case there a bit. So
we can see that, yep.
Yeah, so and this is what it's supposed to have on that side, an encapsulated roller bearing that you can't pull that one apart. That's supposed to be in there.
Righto.
We had one of those, we had one on that side, that way, which is correct. And the other one was in there, back to front.
Backwards.
Backwards, like that.
Yeah, right.
I think they did a pretty good job to get it in there, to be honest.
How do they did that?
Well, that's probably the only bearings they had.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so, yeah, they made a proper mess of it. But anyway, we have other bearings we can use here, so...
No wonder she had a bit of inflow.
Yeah, and a bit of up and down, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then another issue with it. Okay. Another problem that we had was somebody's decided on here they put an O-ring and they put a felt washer, and there was also another felt washer on top of that. Well, you can't have that because when the crankshaft sticks out of here on this side, on the drive side, that flange on there has got to actually go inside there.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So how'd that go with the alignment, I wonder?
Well, the chain would have been that much at least out of alignment, so they've machined that up to go in there, and that just fits on there like so. That's what they've done, and that was on there like that.
Okay. So Ian might have to have a look at the gearbox alignment too, because they might have moved that across
They might have.
to make up for it.
There is a bit of leeway on those. You can undo the bolts and you can actually slide the gearbox across a little bit on the frame.
Yeah, yep.
But yeah, this has just been a total mess, this engine, unfortunately. Obviously the guy that put it together had absolutely no idea, which I'm not trying to be hard on him or anything, but like he had no idea whatsoever. And but the crank is excellent. So somebody that really knew what they were doing has put this crank together. Like that's a beautiful crank. And the head's good. I'll just have to check that valve.
Yeah. Yeah, we spoke about the valve,
That
yep.
bit that was smashed off the bottom of the cylinder, I've actually machined most of it off. So that looks pretty good.
Yep, tidied that up.
Has tidied that up a lot.
Nah,
There's the other bit of that felt washer that was on the sprocket.
Yep.
So there was all jammed in there.
Yeah, that would have been packed out a long way, wouldn't
Well,
it?
it was packed out that much, which is probably about,
I don't know.
would be 15 mil or
10
something.
to 15 mil.
15
yeah, it's
mil
well
at
over
least.
10 mil, yeah.
15 mil, probably sticking out, and that would have made that sprocket out of alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also this sprocket's a good one because it's a five drive dog on the shocker.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that's good. Yeah,
Right.
that'll be all right. But we've got enough bearings here to put some different bearings in there, in it.
So we'll have a look at the rebuild when that happens.
Yep.
We'll go through that as well.
Yep, and I don't think we'll use this crankcase. I've got another one here, so we'll use it. I think this one's got too many problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got that's been mutilated to try and hold that shaft in, and of course the bearing's chewed into there a little bit, and
Oh, that'll cut back on the assembly time too.
yeah, and yeah, well, and up in here, that's been welded up.
Yeah, it hasn't got that recess.
It hasn't got the recess in it for the wave washer, and I'll have to replace that too because remember that was too long.
Yes.
Okay, so, but yeah, no, we'll get there with this.
Excellent.
Yep, it will turn out to be a good motor.
Fantastic.
No worries, all right. we've rebuilt the clutch. Now there's a little bit of wobble in this chain wheel, which is pretty normal when you put all new segments in it, because the segments are gripped by the clutch like so, but the chain wheel slides over the segments, so the segments will still drive the chain wheel.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got all that.
Yep.
Now there's always bits missing, so I'll just show you a little tricky bit in here. That people just forget about, or they just don't do it. In here, there's this little locking tab.
Yes.
It's got a tail on it in there that goes into the spline.
Yep.
And then you screw that up, and it stops the clutch from coming undone.
Yeah.
Now, remember back in the early videos, I said that people tend not to do this right up. You've got to knock it right up and then lock it, because it will sneak undone. People tend to see this one here too is also, it's had holes drilled in here to put a lock tab into here. Well, I've never seen that come undone. So
yeah, okay.
somebody's just, they're just having a guess that might come undone.
Yeah,
but it
just
won't.
not knowing, not having the experience.
Yeah, no.
Yep.
You don't really want to lock that up, because that's your clutch adjustment.
Yeah, exactly.
That's your clutch adjustment, okay? So, but this nut needs to be knocked up tight. Can't stress that enough.
Yeah, fantastic.
Righto, so we'll pop in.
He should be pretty happy with this. How many hours do you think?
Oh,
Because it had a few issues, and you had to chase a few parts up and go through all your stuff. And
yeah. I'll probably put, probably about 13 or 14 hours in it.
yeah,
Yeah, I had to chase up lots of bits, and I had to repair a lot of bits and pieces. Now,
but it came with a good case, as you know, with
that other good case, yeah, that was good. Plus, he had a handful of spares as well. And in here, some of the some of the gears that he gave me are in there. There's the main shaft, the gearboxes that he gave me as a spare. That's in there. In here, hit the Kickstarter. Inside there, there's obviously the Kickstarter spring. And there's also a spring that pushes the Kickstarter into the ratchet. That's called the engaging spring. That wasn't there. There's 3 pins and a little thrust disc in there. They weren't there. So I found 3 new thrust pins, an engaging disc and an engaging spring.
So did it ever work?
And a new, well, sort of.
Yeah.
And there's also a new Kickstarter spring in there.
Fantastic.
Okay, now in here there's all new high quality bearings, Japanese bearings instead of the Chinese ones. Now, I'll just show you something that's really interesting. When I first put it together, it wouldn't spring back quite as good as it should, and Ian said he was having trouble with that as well. But this screw here, this has caught out a lot of people.
The length?
The length of it is really important, because if you don't get it right, it'll touch on the ratchet, on the cam plate.
Oh, fail on the cam plate.
And it just brushes the cam plate. Now, when I was doing it, I had to give it, and I thought, I know what's wrong there. That's that. So I screwed it out, and sure enough, there's a little shiny rub mark on the end of it. So I ground a little tiny bit off it and put it back in, and now it's fine.
Fantastic. And you made that bush up for the...
I repaired this bush. It's got to have a little bit of looseness in it so that it doesn't lock up.
Yep.
Because if it gets a little bit of dirt or anything in it, it'll lock up. But you just got to have it. But that's only got about, an eighth of the movement that it had.
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay. So that's all good. I'll put the little chimney back in.
Yep.
I'll put washers on everything, new gaskets. And in the clutch also, Ian's clutch plates that he had, even the spare one, these from his spare clutch, these are the really old type. And one of these had one of the tangs broken off it and so on.
Yeah, okay.
So I had some spares, new modern slotted ones, so I fitted them into that clutch as well.
Yeah, fantastic.
So that should be good. And I had a new old stock thrust race, which I've also put in it.
Yeah, I remember the clutch used to drag on this thing.
Yep. Yep.
You'd say trying to pull it up and the clutch would always be dragging.
3-plate clutch, yeah.
Yeah.
This one, this clutch will not work immediately. You need to run it in a bit.
Yeah, right.
And you need to be a bit rough on them. I've always found if you're a bit rough on them and it takes the high spots off these segments,
Yeah, that makes sense.
it'll work very, very well after a while. But
just like bedding in brakes in your car.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But that's all good. That comes forward a bit because it's not actually a Velocette Kickstarter, but that's okay. That's fine.
Yep.
That's okay. That's no problem.
This engine and gearbox, this is out of a dirt track bike. So Ian rides it over at Broadford every year at Easter, and he's going to have a really good year this year coming up.
We hope so.
No, he will. He'll have a great time.
I might have to hide if he doesn't. Yeah, but nah, it'll be good.
We'll bring a spare bike for him just in case.
Yeah, we'll have a spare bike.
We'll have a spare bike if he needs one.
But all that's good. These plates, you know, I've got quite a few of these, but if you have a really good look at them, there's a 90% chance they're buckled.
Yes.
And they cause you clutch drag.
Yep.
So they're a bit of a problem. So yeah, so
fantastic.
That's what we're up to there.
That's really good.
Yep.
Right, the same as every other week. If you like what you see, like, subscribe, tell your friends. Let's bring Hagon's back.